Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Grave, the podcast where I talk to friends, family, and even strangers about their paranormal experiences. This week we're talking to Rick, who is a paranormal investigator and runs the Block Island Ghost Tours over on Block Island. For those of you who don't know, Block Island is a small island off the coast of Rhode Island, and it's only accessible by ferry or boat, or some sort of watercraft, or plane. Basically, you just can't get there by car. There are no bridges. My wife's family have been going out there to vacation for years, and they've had experiences in houses that they've rented. I've had a few small encounters of my own in the time that I've been out there, but there are so many stories concerning hauntings on the island that I knew I had to talk to a local and get some of the lore from someone who lives it. Rick is an awesome dude, and if you are ever out on Block, you should definitely check out his tour. As you'll hear, creepy stuff happens during those all the time. It's also just a nice place to go in the summer. Although, as I'm sure he would agree, it has gotten a little too popular for its own good. This is a bit of a different episode, as some of the tales Rick will be telling are just historical paranormal experiences that have occurred on or around the island. Rick's episode, like Carmine's, will be split up into two parts in keeping with our 30-minute-ish runtime. Rick had too much good stuff to say for me to try and just jam it all into one episode. So, without further ado, I give you part one of Rick's ghost stories.
We should be good.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. You're fresh off a podcast, just a few minutes ago. What was the podcast?
We do it's called Legit Paranormal Clips.
Awesome.
So it's me and a couple guys from Rhode Island, and we just get other investigators and stuff to show us their whether it be EVPs or clips of, their evidence, basically. Okay. We check them out. We talk to them about it. And, it's fun.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. I should definitely give that a listen. Speaking of that, I guess do you live on Block, or are you?
I do.
Okay. Awesome. So my wife and I actually just went out there. We go out. My wife's family gets a place there pretty much every year. They rent one.
Yep.
But we just went out there for the first time in like late January. It was like the first time we've been there in the dead of winter. It's definitely a different feel.
It's a different vibe for sure.
The summer crowd, yeah.
Yeah. I compare it to an independent film, where you see the people like moving the house across the ice, and stuff. Yeah. The wind blowing.
Yeah, very apt description. So I guess to that point, like what got you into the paranormal in the first place?
Well, out here it's hard not to be, because there's so much haunted stuff around here. Right. And then about 6-7 years ago, my daughter and I were in Key West, and we did their walking ghost tour.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, why don't we, do this on Block Island? There's enough stories. And at first we were thinking, it was probably going to be more of a dark history tour than an actual ghost tour.
Sure.
I knew there was ghost stories, but as soon as we started researching it, it's become a full-blown ghost tour, and we do investigations now and all that fun stuff.
Oh, nice, awesome. Yeah, it's funny because when my wife and I were there in January, I think she tried to get me onto your tour, and for whatever reason you weren't available or something like that, it didn't work out. And it's Holly, your wife, I'm assuming.
No, she's my business partner.
Oh, okay. So she was like, well, we're so sorry we couldn't get you guys out here, but we'd love to talk to you. So that's kind of how I was put in touch. But it was also interesting because this past summer, my brother-in-law took your tour and was like, you got to get in touch with Rick, man. He was like, you got to talk to him. It's like,
awesome.
I'm gonna give it a shot, and lo and behold, it all worked out.
Yeah. Well, next time you're out, make sure you give me a call, and we'll get you out. I'll take you around.
Yeah, I fully plan on doing that. I mean, obviously, I love this stuff. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I said, my wife's family gets a spot. It's not the same house every year, but throughout the years, they've mentioned that we'll get to obviously all your stuff momentarily. But this is something I've been curious about. If you've heard about it, one of the houses that everyone in her family has notoriously been like, it is haunted. It's called the DuPont house.
Oh, is that Henry's house?
Honestly, I don't know. Growing up, I went to Block every year, but it was like day trips, so I never spent much time like at night there. but her family was like, this place, like they heard footsteps, doors would open and close, like blinds would go open, like up and down on their own.
Where is it on the island?
I wish, can you give me 1 second? I can literally go ask my wife right now.
Sure. Yeah,
All right,
that's awesome.
Okay, so she's trying to find the exact location, but she thinks it's off Beacon Hill Road.
That's where when you were going, I was just asking Holly, and then I said it's by Goose and Garden, probably.
Again, it could be,
yeah.
But I mean, you seem to know.
that specific house, I'm not sure about, but we joke around at the spot, being like, it's harder to find a place around here that isn't haunted, especially downtown area, and then New Harbor.
Yep.
That area by the Narragansett, Dead Eyes, and that area. I mean, it's just such a strange history out here, and I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the water or, just the Native Americans that were here. I mean, they placed those guys back as far as 1800 BC. So
this is perfect. Okay, so I'm just looking at my notes here. So and we mentioned this, or I mentioned this to you on our call, but the thing that kind of really like got me going on Block Island Ghosts was that book, Ghost of Block Island.
Yeah, Fran's book.
Yes, and I kind of want to get your initial thoughts on that. Like, is that something that's like held as like true accounts?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. What's great about it is because I read it from a local standpoint. That she names the people that she's talking to. So
right.
If you want to. So what I did, when we were first getting the tour together, of course I went through the book, and I would just end up calling these people, and I'd be like, all right, what is it?
Lay it on me.
Yeah, lay it on me. And it's funny. The best is, you got some of these older, saltier Block Island people who will walk straight up to me and be like, Rick, I don't believe in any of that crap. However, this one time,
right? There's always a but.
Yeah, they all have a story too, which is pretty neat.
Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, because when I first read, was flipping through it, it was at a house that, again, one of my wife's, one of the houses her parents rented, and I was just going through it, and I was like, this is some wild shit. I was just like,
oh yeah.
All right, all right, awesome. That's part one. Part two is, before we get into everything you want to talk about, I just briefly, because like I said, I've heard about the Native Americans and like battles between the settlers and stuff like that. Yep. But obviously I don't know much about the area. So sure. I was hoping you could give me kind of just a brief rundown of maybe the history and just a little bit of the island, and then we can kind of go from there into your stuff.
Okay. So Adrian Block is the guy who charted the island in 1614. Which is named after him. Before that, it was named the Manitou, which means Island of Little Spirits. Recent archaeological digs placed those Native Americans back to about 1800 BC. In their heyday, there was about 1,500 Native Americans living on the island at once. So, that's even bigger than our winter population now.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's a long history of them being here. And then when the American Indian War happened, it actually happened because of out here. There was a guy called John Aldecott, and he came out to trade with the Indians, and they ended up killing him. And then him and his crew, putting him on a boat. They were found, and they knew it was from out here, so they sent a raiding party out here to try to wipe out the Native Americans who were here. They ended up hiding in the swamps. Didn't get any of the Native Americans, but ended up burning all their stuff. And then it went to the mainland, and we have the King Philip's War because of that.
Gotcha. Okay, so it was kind of the spark that ignited everything.
Exactly.
Interesting. And you said, but presumably did Native Americans die? Like, there's a bunch of, was there death that happened because of this?
They managed to get away for a while, and they ended up taking it out on the whole Narragansett tribe. There was a guy called John Brown, and he came out in 2007 to give a talk about the Native Americans who were here. And the way he described it was that the Native Americans who were here were either mentally or physically not able to deal with the mainland. So sort of like a little Australia situation.
Gotcha.
Or if you've ever been out here on the 4th of July,
Oh
that
yeah,
type.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
type of
It's not
situation.
not for the faint of heart. Yeah. All right, cool. Good to know. All right, so that does it for me. I just want to get like a kind of just a brief background of everything. Um, and obviously I've heard tales of haunted places around, and you've seen was it Ghost Hunters who was out there? They did
Yep, they did a surf.
yeah, the surf, yep. And so there's obviously those big name places, but obviously you're an islander, the area, and I would just like to get before we jump into your personal experiences, I would love to get kind of some, your top, two, three, four, five, if you want,
Sure.
kind of haunted stories.
Well, probably the one that we're most famous for is the Palatine. And so the year was 1738. The ship's actually name was the Countess Augusta. They call it the Palatine because it was leaving from the Palatine region of Germany, heading to Philadelphia from Germany for those who were seeking religious freedom.
Okay.
They were in a rush to leave, so instead of getting fresh water, they ended up buying water from other boats that had just come in, their extra stores. And what they didn't realize was that water was contaminated. Okay. So they left with about 170 passengers and a crew of 20. By the time they got to Block Island, they were down to about 50 passengers. Half the crew was dead, including the captain.
Okay.
About halfway through the journey, they realized what water was good, what water was bad. So these guys ended up reselling the good water to the richer passengers and letting the poorer passengers fend for themselves.
Okay, great.
So we know that they got here on December 26th of that year. But there's two different versions of the story on actually how they got from the water to the island. There's the Happy Islander version, where they saw the boat in distress, rowed out, took everyone off the boat onto the land before burning the boat, because they figured it was some kind of biohazard or contaminated. And then there's the less popular version around town, which is probably the truer version, where they saw the boat in distress. They ended up setting up false lighthouses by stacking hay bales and then having a donkey carrying a torch around it, making it look like a fake lighthouse, bringing them onto the rocks, taking what they wanted before bringing the passengers onto the island.
Okay.
In both versions of the story, there was a woman called Mary Vandeline, and she was driven mad by everyone dying and being thrown overboard over the whole passage. And she said she didn't want to go to the island. So they said, all right, you can hang here for now. We'll get everyone else off, and then we'll come get you last. But she got lost in the shuffle. So they ended up burning that boat with her on it. And they said that you could hear her screams from the beach.
Sure. Yeah.
There was two other woman survivors on the boat, and the history books very originally referred to them as Long Kate and Short Kate. Very original.
Yeah.
But the history books also refer to them as like the island seers or the witches. And it said that they put a curse on the island. So now between about the 26th of December and the new year, you can see the burning ship Palatine.
Really?
A lot of people have seen it. It's been documented like a bunch of times over the last couple hundred years, and in the town paper and stuff.
Where is it in the same place every time, or?
Yeah, it's around Sandy Point. So if you have the bowl of the island, like Crescent Beach,
yep.
off Mansion Beach.
Oh yeah, off Mansion Beach, sure. Okay.
Yep. And about 100 years ago, the rumors were starting to die down about it, and it was starting to simmer down.
Yeah.
And an islander went to Europe on vacation, sits down at the local pub, and happens to tell this guy sitting next to him the story of the Palatine. That he didn't realize that guy was a pretty famous poet at the time, and he ended up writing a poem called "The Palatine Light." And in that poem, he refers to the islanders as the wreckers, so like pirates. So that stirred up the controversy again, and we're still talking about it today. So
that's interesting. Yeah, now and people see it just sporadically throughout that span from December to the new year.
Yep, that's when it's seen the most. And they say that if you were a descendant from people who lived on the island at the time, you can see it year round.
Oh, really? It's like part of the curse.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's wild. That would be.
That's pretty cool.
Is the ship, is it on fire, or is it just like kind of
It's
ghost
on
ship?
fire. Yeah, you see the burning ship
Oh
Valentine.
wow, that's crazy.
And there's been people like, I mean, especially, 100 years ago, people weren't talking about ghost ships,
Right.
and they're pretty reputable people on the record saying that I saw this thing burning.
Right.
For that time, it's almost unheard of.
Right. Wouldn't do it for shits and giggles, It's
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Awesome. That's wild. Great start. All right, let's keep moving on.
Since we're on boats, another one of our big ones is the Larchmont. The Larchmont was one of those big paddle boat steamers. Like you see like on the Ohio rivers, on the rivers.
Yeah, like a Mark Twain style.
Yep.
Yep.
So it was February 7th, 1910. And the Larchmont at the time used to be an overnight ferry that would run from Providence to New York City. It was a rough night, super cold, super windy. And it was a young captain. He was about 27 years old. The name is escaping me right this second. But they asked him, they actually said, listen, you don't have to go if you don't want to go. And he said, listen, I've done this before. I've been on rough seas. We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Famous last words.
So you know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
So he goes down the Providence River into the Narragansett Bay. As soon as they get out into the water, they miss another boat who was a barge that had 3 different things that he was towing along. And the guy's like, all right, well, that was our bad luck. We nearly got away with it. They sailed for about another 4 hours heading towards the island. And then they ran into another boat called the Harry Knowlton. And the Harry Knowlton was a big schooner, so a big sailboat carrying about 490 tons of coal. They came on each other really fast. They both blew their horns to signal that they both saw him, and then they both turned the wrong way. The Harry Knowlton, Harry Knowlton went right into the side of the Larchmont. It actually pierced right where those steam engines were.
Oh boy!
So anyone who was on those lower decks ended up getting steamed right away. They had about 150 passengers to start, and they were entangled for a long while. And they ended up getting disentangled, and the guys from the Harry Knowlton managed to get on their life rafts, and they made it to Watch Hill. They got to the Watch Hill life saving station, and they said, listen, there was a big accident. Call Block Island Lifeguard Station, because it was right off the north point of the island. Let them know that by morning there should be lifeboats with people coming there. What they didn't realize is that the boat sank in about 16 minutes.
Wow.
And most of the people heard the commotion, came up, but it was like -20 with the wind chill, and they were dressed in their overnight clothes, so they didn't make it.
Right.
So Block Island sent all, the locals heard about it. They all went to the North Light. First boat that came in was a 15-year-old boy by himself. The only reason he survived as long as he did is because he had stacked bodies to keep him out of the wind.
Okay.
Hid behind the bodies, got off the boat covered in the ice, said more are coming, and then dropped dead. More were coming, but they were all dead. About 73 bodies washed up by the North Light over the course of the next 10 days. They stacked those bodies in the North Lighthouse, and then the Hygeia House, which is the Hygeia House is actually, now that we call it the Hygeia House, but it was actually the annex for the Hygeia Hotel, which was a giant hotel. That's where the police station is now.
Yep.
And the doctor at the time was a guy called Dr. Champlin. So if you know Champlin.
Champlins, yeah.
Yeah, that's that family.
Okay.
They stacked the bodies in there too. Now both places are super haunted.
Interesting.
The North Light, there's a woman in black who's been seen looking out into the water as if she's waiting for somebody to come in. We're not sure if she was a sister, lover, mother of somebody on the boat. Also, there is a 15-year-old boy ghost who's been known to say, more are coming.
Wow.
We're actually going to do an investigation in there pretty soon. We were supposed to do it about a month ago, and just things didn't work out. But they say that, Block Island's super dog friendly.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have taken their dogs up there, and the dogs try to go up the stairs, but almost every time the dog gets chucked off.
Like something throws the dog?
Yeah, off the stairs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which I could tell you my favorite, not my favorite as far as like niceness, but one of our creepiest stories is the New Shurham house.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And this is also a dog not having a good day.
Kills
Sorry. All right. So I know I know these people pretty well. So I tell my tours, I'm going to change the names to the Smiths. Okay.
Sure.
It's the early 80s. We have Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Mary, who's about 3 or 4 when our story starts. Her sister, Anne, is about 3 or 4 years older than her when our story starts. Love Block Island, been coming out here for years. The new Sherm house happens to come out up for sale, and it's the 80s too, so the prices aren't that crazy. And they end up, selling everything on the mainland and trying to, they buy the new Sherm house. During the course of this sale, some of their Islander friends, say, listen, that place is known to be pretty haunted. I say, that's fine. We don't believe in that.
Classic.
So then, again, little foreshadowing.
Right.
So when they first move in, the first thing they notice is that their new puppy won't go to the 3rd floor. Every time you bring that puppy up there, it cries, growls, does everything it can to get out of there. Mr. Smith notices noises in the attic, goes up, can't really figure out what those noises are. And then Mary, the youngest, starts to develop an imaginary friend. Mrs. Smith hears her laughing, carrying on, goes in and says, who are you talking to? And, the kid basically blows it off and says, Mommy, she's my friend. She's shy. So if you hear us, talking, leave us alone.
Right,
so,
yeah.
At this point, it's like, the way I say it is like a paranormal level 2 or 3. They're not even really sure if anything's happening at this point.
Could just be a kid being a kid.
Yeah, all of it. It could be written off. Things are weird, but they're not really sure.
Right.
A few years go by, business is good. They start to do some renovations, and that kicks things up a little bit more. So still the dog won't go to the 3rd floor. The noises in the attic are, more consistent. And then they start to realize that when single males rent on that 3rd floor, strange stuff starts to happen. Sometimes they wake up in the coat room on the 1st floor, not knowing how they got there in the middle of the night.
What?
Sometimes they ask for a new room in the middle of the night because their bed won't stop shaking, or the smell of sulfur or rotten meat permeates the room. Okay. So now we're at like a 5 or 6, and they say, all right, listen, our house is haunted, but it's our house, our ghost, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Sure.
Few more years go by. And the oldest daughter, Anne, is gifted a Ouija board.
Oh God. Here we go.
That is the right reaction to have.
Yeah.
It goes from about a 5-6 to an 11. Still, the dog won't go to the 3rd floor. The noises now sound like wrestling matches. People are getting locked in their rooms, locked out of their rooms. People are getting whispered in the ears. Mrs. Smith's mother comes for a visit. She said that she's held down on the bed by something as a bureau slides across the room, lifts up, and then lands on top of them.
Holy
so
shit.
now they're scared. They have the
so.
local priest. Yeah, exactly. They have the local priest come by, bless the place. That doesn't do anything. They have all their hippie friends burning sage in all the different corners. That doesn't do anything. And Mrs. Smith, starting to lose her mind, rightfully so, starts asking her friends what they would do. And one of her friends gives her the advice that she should go up to the 3rd floor and confront the ghost. So that's what she does. She goes up there. It was a beautiful summer day. Yeah, I know. We're making horrible decisions. Yeah.
Horror film.
So she goes up there. It's a beautiful day, summer day. She goes, listen, I know you don't like me. I know you don't like my old dog. I'm going out today. I'm going to find the meanest dog I can. We're going to come up here and we're going to stay on this 3rd floor until you leave. Later on that very same day, the old dog, friendly dog, is sleeping on the side of the road across the street against the Harborside Hotel. Another family, mother, father, 2 kids in the back, come driving down Weldon's Way, get to where that dog is lying, veer off, run over the dog once. Guy puts it in reverse, runs over the dog twice, puts it in drive, and runs over the dog a 3rd time.
Jesus.
Yeah. So we're talking, summer on Block Island. It's a giant commotion.
Yeah.
Cops are called. Cops show up and they find all 4 people in the car crying. They say to the guy, what the hell did you do? Guy says, I don't remember doing it. Why would I do anything like that? I have no possible idea how that even happened. So pretty crazy stuff.
Is this like a possession case we're talking about right now? Is it?
I think it's a little. I think you got the whole bag on this place. I mean, there's still. Let me frame. Things have died down there a lot. The Smiths ended up selling the place immediately.
Mercifully, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And things have died down there a lot, but there's always still stuff going on there. The ghost tours desk used to be in the Harborside Hotel, which also does the reservations for the New Sherm House. So we would constantly ask, the cleaning ladies, what's up with that.
Right.
And there are like certain rooms that you have to ask permission for to get in, before the key will work. Certain shelves that they don't bother putting anything on because they know it's going to get thrown off.
Okay.
And down below are the 2 closed stores, and then right next to the Mohegan Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those 3 places have a little girl ghost who we think is probably the imaginary friend from the beginning of the story.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You could hear her playing in the changing room. In the ladies' room at the Mohegan, you'll get a knock on the door and hear a little girl's voice say, "Will you play with me?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's still super active.
Wow.
We actually got to go in there this winter when it was closed. Me and a couple of my paranormal investigator friends, and we got a lot of EVPs, a lot of spirit box stuff. It was pretty neat.
And that is going to do it for the first part of Rick's Tales. I really liked the idea of a telling some ghost stories around a campfire type of episode, and not necessarily his own experiences, but the way he would retell a terrifying encounter to a friend out at a bar or some other get-together. I also really liked getting the historical context of not only the island, but how that history plays into the hauntings that Rick was discussing. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Rick as much as I did, and we will be back next Friday with part 2 of Rick's ghost stories and personal experiences. So stay tuned for that, and as always guys, thanks for listening, and I hope to have you all back for some more scary stories.